is heaven and paradise the same place according to the Bible? Because sometimes people say the thief on the cross didn't go to heaven that day, he went to paradise, as if it's a separate place. I'm going to show you that heaven and paradise are the same place. Here we go. In 2 Corinthians 12:2, Paul describes a vision he had. He says, I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Notice that phrase, third heaven there? This doesn't mean that there are 3 dwelling places of God, like the Mormon view. Instead, what it simply means is that the word heaven can refer to 3 different things. It can refer to the area where the birds fly. It can refer to space, where there's planets and galaxies and stars. We even use that in English. I gazed up into heaven. We weren't talking about the dwelling place of God. We were talking about where the planets are. We looked into the stars in the sky. But the third use of the word heaven is the dwelling place of God. And that's what Paul's saying here in 2 Corinthians 12, that he had a vision of him going to heaven. In the very next verse, he says, I know that this man was caught up into paradise. Whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know, God knows. Notice what he's done here? He just used heaven and paradise as synonyms. He said he was caught up to the third heaven here, and here he says into paradise. So clearly paradise and heaven are the same place. Another verse that shows this is Revelation 2:7, which says, He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who conquers, I will grant to eat of the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. If you read on, the tree of life is described as being in heaven. And here, Revelation talks about that as being paradise. So paradise and heaven being the same place. Now, the reason why some people say that paradise and heaven isn't the same place is because they think, how could the thief go to heaven that day when Christ hasn't risen from the dead yet? The reason is because that thief came to believe in Christ, and Christ's sacrifice could already apply from the moment he believed. Just like Abraham, he lived thousands of years before Jesus, and when he believed God's promise, he too was counted as righteous, even though Christ hadn't even died yet. So when Abraham died, he went to heaven, just like how Elijah went up into heaven, because God can act on the basis of the future sacrifice of Jesus. God is not limited or bound by time like we are. So that is why Abraham could even be accounted as righteous, even have Christ's righteousness, before Jesus would even live here on this earth. Paul says, my desire is to depart and be with Christ, for that is far better. That's what happens to believers when they die. They get to be with the Lord. Know that to live is Christ and to die is gain. And know that being with the Lord for eternity is truly paradise.